We're all smiles. Welcome back to a Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, joined by the two Kevins. The one that's in Budapest we can hear loud and clear. Can we hear Kevin Graham loud and clear? Kevin, give us a 1-2.
Hopefully you can hear me. I shall not be silenced.
Well, that's it. We've secretly tried to silence you, Kev. Give us a wee shout in the comments. Can you hear everybody okay? Now, let's have a wee look at that overall as the game, because I know that a lot of people tune into the post-match that may not necessarily listen to the half-time reaction. So we've got to look at the game as a whole, and I'm going to come to yourself first of all, Kevin Graham, so that the people in the comment sections can tell us if you're coming across loud and clear. Give us your overall summary of that game and that performance today.
There's a lot of that football today that we played should have been behind a paywall. That was utterly sexual. Some of that stuff, it was utterly brilliant. I mean, there is football if you want it, and that was nothing but an absolutely sonnet. That was a sonnet. That was the sweetest bird song that you'll ever hear. And we even continued it into the second half, which is the first time that we've done it, especially since the winter break. Just unbelievable. I mean, you're thinking that Rogic is a stick-on for man of the match, then Matt O'Reilly comes on and just does things that you shouldn't, that you want to see done with a football. 4-0 utterly flatters Motherwell. We should have actually scored more in that second half, but some of the football we played today was utterly brilliant. You just want to watch this team time and time again. And Ange mentioned on Friday that we needed to be better to have the success that we need to have this season. And the only thing that you can think that he actually meant was doing it in the second half. Yeah. And we've done that in the second half today. Motherwell didn't deserve to be on the same pitch as us.
Kevin mentions there that the thing that could be done better is doing it in the second half. And we've mentioned after quite a few of the games over the last month or so, Kevin McCluskie, we need to get you guys nicknames. There has been a slight drop-off, and was it a concern? Well, you're winning the game, etc. Do you think that comes down to the strength of the bench? You look at the strength of that bench, you can bring on somebody like Matt O'Reilly. You can bring on players that are going to maintain the intensity of Angie's play.
Yeah, so first of all, since we're looking for nicknames, I noticed that in the comment section, some folk have likened me to a young Paul Hartley. Don't know where they're getting that from.
Mate, so. I've actually commented today in the studio that you remind me of Josip Juranovic.
There is a bit of Josip, so we're going to call you Josip.
I'll take that one over Paul Hartley any day.
It's the beard. It's the beard.
It's the beard. It must be that.
Yeah.
It's definitely not the footballing ability.
So the strength of our bench is helping the intensity over 90 minutes. It surely is.
It definitely is. Definitely is. Some of the notes I'd taken from the second half were I think I've got one about the 67-minute mark, saying that I felt the intensity had kind of dropped a little bit, but we were just managing the game, just kind of controlling everything. Motherwell had a couple of chances at the start of the half. After that, we just kind of controlled it. It was being played to our tempo, but we wanted it at that time. And then that's when the second batch of changes comes along. And O'Reilly comes in and we just step it back up again. And it's the first time all season that we've been able to do that. Just really control the tempo from the first minute to the last, slow it down when we've wanted to slow it down, and then pick it back up. And Motherwell they had nothing to offer when we raised the game. They were dead on their feet at that point. And you see, we're bringing on Jota, we're bringing on O'Reilly, and they must just be thinking, blow the whistle, please.
Well, you know the thing, right? Watching that game, just near the end of the match, the commentary team were talking about the positives from a Motherwell angle, Kev, weren't they? And they were saying things like, there's been signs that they can compete in a game like this. Well, I know that I watch these games through the Celtic prism. I get that. Of course I do, right? It's a Celtic state of mind. But you try to be as balanced as possible. Sometimes people think that you're too far the other way if you criticise players, etc. But I didn't see that today, Kevin Graham. I never saw a team in Motherwell that went toe-to-toe with us, really. I mean, you pinpointed a 5-minute period maybe in the first half where they started coming into it a wee bit. That was a properly dominant performance from a Celtic side who I think are growing in confidence to such a state where at half-time recently we've been 2-0 up a few times, didn't really build in it in the second half. Rangers 3-0 up. Certainly didn't add any goals, but, I just thought it was a really professional, dominant performance on Wednesday night. But tonight, like Kevin McCluskie said there, we were able to build on it massively due to the quality of the subs that came on. But I don't get that narrative that Motherwell were in that game at any point.
Sky have got to try and package and sell Scottish football. And they can't package and sell. Well, they could package and sell that. Just like, come and watch Celtic put on a show. Mm-hmm. Come and watch Celtic utterly destroy a team. But that does the day nothing when they're trying to show Motherwell against Motherwell. Motherwell against Hibs one Monday night or something like that. Aye, Motherwell had 5 minutes. Aye, they had 5 minutes at probably some point in the second half as well. But even their manager will probably struggle to find any positives apart from they never lost more goals.
We've seen Celtic winning 7-0 there in a game like that for Park, Kev. Where it could have been as bad as that for Motherwell. We've hit the post. We've had a goal chopped off. We've had a few good chances that the goalie's made a couple of saves. That could have been a 5-6-7-0 game the other day, Kev.
Definitely. I'm just really, really pleased that we were speaking about it when we were watching it, and we're going, hopefully we can maybe get 5, 6, 7 because the team actually deserves it. The team actually deserves to actually score that amount of goals.
Yeah.
But we scored a goal in the second half. I think that's the first time we've done that since we've been back after the winter break.
Good point.
I think it is. But it was just the performance level in the second half should have you drooling as well as the first half. Aye, we scored 3 goals in the first half, but the performance level in the second half was just as good. Some of that stuff in that second half was utterly, as you say, it should have its own OnlyFans page.
I didn't say that. That was you. That was you. Your words. I'm not familiar with that particular website, Kev, but that was your words. Some of the comments coming through, I think this might have been, can you hear Kevin Graham? Joe Fulham comes in and said, yes, sadly. I might be picking that up wrong, Joe.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant today. Yeah, Celtic were, Stephen. Absolutely brilliant. But let's run through some of these. Let's get you involved here. Rogic rattling the post in the 76th minute. And yeah, absolutely, Owen McGrandles. That's right. Paul Campbell, best football since O'Neill. It's been the way that we're playing. I mean, I thought we played some excellent football at times under Ronnie Dyler. I thought we played brilliant football under Brendan Rodgers at times. But we seem to have hit a stride at the moment whereby, if we keep this up, and the guy, there's Tommy Rogic doing an interview. Didn't often see that. Apparently doesn't like speaking to the media, so that'll be interesting to watch that back. It was his celebration, Kevin McCluskie, when he scored, and he didn't really celebrate. He just gave that wee smile as if to say, I know. I know what I can do. But all the way through the game, he's got that magnetic toe. It's like he almost sells the players into a false sense of thinking they might get the ball, and then he just glides past them. I mean, I'm now sitting here, and hopefully at some point in the show we can look towards Aberdeen and say, well, what's our strongest team? It's getting to the point, Kev, where it's difficult to pick your strongest team now. I mean, you've got to fit Rogic in it, but then how do you fit O'Reilly in that?
We spoke about this at half-time. It's that perfect headache that you want as a manager, isn't it? Which one of 2 top-quality, on-form players do you want to have to tell he can't play? Rogic today, maybe after that initial spell in the game when I thought maybe he had a couple of poor passes, he was unreal and unplayable. He's got that style about him where he just makes everything look so effortless. The way that he cushions every pass, it's under control instantly. For the goal, it was 1 touch to control, a second to set him up, and then using the defender as a shield just to bend it in the top corner. We've seen him score that goal so many times. It's trademarked now, surely. And then the second half, again, he was doing everything, wasn't he? Bits and pieces everywhere, nice little passes, little flicks inside. You can't really leave that kind of talent out if you've got him at your disposal.
It's a proper vintage Tommy Rogic display, and we spoke about these guys on Twitter, Kevin Graham, who are able to clip and edit videos together, often at the expense of someone less fortunate than Celtic. I would love to see that clips, that showreel of Tom Rogic, because I mean, you look at the goals, he doesn't score a bad goal. But let's take a wee bit of time out to appreciate the brilliance of Tommy Rogic, right? So Ange Postecoglou came in, and maybe obviously a lot of people were saying, oh right, there's another chance here for Tom Rogic because they've worked together. He's managed them for the national team, Kev. But there's a lot of Celtic fans who had kind of ran the race with Tom Roderick. They felt as though maybe last summer the time was for right for him to leave, and there was a proposed move lined up, semi-retirement. Where was he going, Kev? Was it Qatar? Maybe. He comes back in. He's now a key element in the Celtic side. When we're playing the best football that we can play, he's normally pivotal to that. He's normally a key player in it. Kev, now, obviously, Ance's had a massive part to play in that. But how impressive is Tom Roderick in all of this? I mean, he has been written off time and time again, I think, as at least a couple of times as a Celtic player. He's come back in. He's one of the most important players in that squad.
If you want to be cliched, and let's get the cliched narrative out, like, he's been reborn under Postecoglou. It seems like the club's been absolutely reborn under Postecoglou, and it's not just Tom Rogic. Okay. But you look at him, I mean, I was one of the guys. I was one of the guys who, if he would have went to Qatar, I'm gone, well...
What were they talking, 4.5?
4.5 million. I says, well, his time's been and gone. It looked like that at that point. Fair play. He hung around. Maybe like... We're luckily that he hung around, but you look at him now, it's the fittest I've ever seen him, the leanest I've ever seen him. He seems to be more mobile. Mm-hmm. He just seems to be now like... He's
far more involved as well, Kevin.
He's grown into that mantle of being an experienced player and a team which is really unexperienced. I mean, I'll just have to have a look. I mean, Ralston, Kalmak and Rogic are the only players that started, and Taylor, 4 players started that game that were there last season. So he is now one of the most experienced players. But on his day, and we've seen it so many, many times, he's back at... Is he better in 2016 peak Tom Rogic?
He's more consistent,
He is more consistent. Postecoglou deserves an awful lot of credit, but the main credit comes actually down to the player.
Yeah.
The player's actually stepped up and doing... It's looked like he's enjoying his football. He looks like he's enjoying the way that we want to play. There's a set style that he wants to play. He's got a bit of freedom that he actually wants. I mean, his step-overs, his feints, his dummies, the way that he can score goals. He's got absolutely everything. But now he's got somebody, Matt O'Reilly, pushing him.
Yeah.
Going like, I can do that as well, Tam. If you can do that, I can do that as well. I've just come in. Once Matt O'Reilly gets a bit more conditioned into the way Postecoglou wants to play, Rogic has gone, well, I'm maybe even going to get a wee braver every now and again. I didn't need to actually be playing the 90 minutes all the time, eh? And it's a great, great problem to have, as Kevin says. Mm-hmm. But now, it's a 16-team game. It's a 16-man game now. I mean, I think if we go back to Brendan Rodgers, what Brendan Rodgers used to say was the starting 11 is just as important. The finishing 11 is just as important as the starting 11. And that's the same under Postecoglou now. And because we go into it, as he kept on saying, we don't stop. We really, really don't stop.
We never stop. Just looking at me, this finish. What a chip. Is there a deflection there? Maybe slightly. Right, Jock Steiner comes in, and I don't know which Kev he's talking about, but apparently Kev is looking 10 years younger, is it?
I'll take that.
Is it our Budapest Kev? Is he looking 10 years younger than Paul Hartley? Is it Kev Graham?
I'd like to hope I'm looking about 10 years younger than Hartley.
I hope so as well, mate. Sean H comes in to say it is ridiculous that after a 4-0, I think a team is going to get demolished by us one of these days. I was getting that feeling at half-time. I think I had the feeling against Hibs, 2-0 up. You know, against Rangers the other night, I felt, particularly the fact we went in 3-0 up, but we had 4 chances in the first half. And Subwood pointed out, we spoke about the penalty shout. It kind of got lost in the celebrations. You know, the penalty shout on Wednesday night where Giakoumakis is basically manhandled to the ground in the box, nothing given. It was a clear penalty for me. Tell me what you think in the comments section if you think I'm looking through green-tinted spectacles. We had 4 good chances, so as well as the 3 goals, we could have gone in 4-0 up, and the second half might have been different. So yeah, I do think that we are going to come up against someone who's going to take an absolute tanking from Celtic, especially now that these players are coming back into the manager's squad. We're talking about Tommy Rogic, Kevin McCluskie, and I'm going to ask you the question there. There is such a thing as your best starting 11. I know we're trying to get to the stage where we've got a great player times 2 in every position. And I think we've got that across the field. We've got it on the right-hand side, I think, with Abada and Forrest pushing each other for that position. I think we've got it in certain areas of midfield. Tommy Roderick, Matt O'Reilly. Does Tom Roderick make it in at your starting 11 when everybody's fit?
That's the toughest question you could probably ask today. I think yes, he does. But Matt O'Reilly's beginning to push him pretty close for that. I do still think that Tommy Rogic, on his day, when he puts in a performance like he did today, is unplayable. Mm-hmm. And if you can get that level of consistency from him week in, week out, then he has to be a starter. But then it is that thing of, it's so good to have somebody like O'Reilly who's just pushing him now week in, week out, knocking on the door for that first team place. It's something we haven't had for a long, long time, and it's such a good thing to see.
It is, and let's not forget, we've still got Eddie Gucci and Davy Turnbull to come back in. Yeah. Kev, I mean, Kev Graham, where does that leave? We haven't seen enough of Gucci. He came in, he looked impressive, he was kicked off the park. Davy Turnbull, though, I mean, he's a guy for me that I'm a huge fan. I mean, he won all the personal accolades last year, and rightly so for his performances. He comes in to the team maybe October last season, and then he's a permanent fixture in the team till the end of the season. He starts off this season, his assists are there, he's scored quite a few goals, and then he has that unfortunate injury that's kept him out since the League Cup final. Where does David Turnbull come into this equation then? Because, I mean, that's a tough midfield to get back into now, isn't it?
It's a tough midfield to get back into, but Ange already says that he likes to rotate players because it's a tough shift in an Ange Postecoglou team. And these guys will get minutes. These guys will get minutes. They will get games when they start. As Postecoglou says, he doesn't really do resting players, but he'll bring players in and out because he knows it's a tough shift. You look at that. You look at that today. We made 5 subs today. If they keep the 5 subs rule, then if you want to keep that energy going for 90 minutes, guys have got to come on and have decent 30 minutes. Guys have got to come on and actually hit the ground running. The problem that we had in September, October, November, maybe going into December, is the reason that David Turnbull's injured is because we just played him far too much in a very, very highly stressed, highly intense situation. So that's now you're saying you've got those options. When you look at Beaton comes back in today, you'll probably say, well, that's more than likely to be Idaguchi. Once Idaguchi's actually fit to come into that, because maybe Idaguchi's more an Ange Postecoglou fit. You'll have games like there will be room for David Turnbull there. There is going to be room for Matt O'Reilly when he actually gets up to speed, because he does look. He looks like he's got the touch. He's absolutely beautiful on the ball, but you can tell that he's not conditioned yet to an Ange Postecoglou Celtic. And tell you the truth, after his first week as a Celtic player, he probably needs a breather today. He was probably quite glad to actually sit on the bench today, because he's been to Tynecastle, he's had a last-minute winner, and he's had a demolition derby coming from NK Dons. He probably doesn't care if it's New York, New Year, or Fir Park on a Sunday. Yeah. He probably hasn't got a clue. So there's going to be a lot of rotation, and we're going to be second guessing on when we're doing these match days, who's going to come in, who's going to come out. Nobody would have expected Josip Juranovic to actually be like on the bench today. But Ralston comes in, gives you a shift. There's no letdown. Beaton comes on in that second half, things just continue. Maeda moves through the middle, all the subs come on and absolutely contribute. We just keep on going, and that is what's going to happen. That's what we're actually needing. Us. The squad is going to be very, very important, and guys like Turnbull and that will have a massive part to play.
Aye, we will be looking towards the game against Aberdeen midweek, Kev, and we'll be looking at how the team will shape up, because as you say, we're going into games, you're not 100% sure what the starting 11 is going to be, but I don't think there was any inclusions today that you thought, well, that's a strange one, or a low bowler. That didn't happen today. It's almost like for like. Chancellor comes in. Is it time to get excited? Well, we're allowed to get excited, aren't we? Fans, of course we are. We can get excited. We expect Ange to play it down. We expect all the players to obviously get the game, take care of business, move on to the next match. And it's that footage of Callum McGregor calming everybody down. And I noticed somebody on Twitter, Kevin McCluskie, saying that it almost looked as though Rio Atati thought he was just telling him to calm down, and he actually felt a bit sorry for him, because it's almost like he bowed his head as if saying, all right, I'm getting too excited. We're allowed to get excited, Kev. I mean, we're not going over the top, but we're going into a game here now at 4:00 this afternoon where Rangers are now playing catch-up, and that's what it's all about. We never gave them that kind of dilemma last season. We didn't put that pressure on them, but we're never breathing down their neck last season. Well, they're going to have to deal with that today. Do you think that they can deal with it?
We'll just have to wait and see. But for the last 18 months, they haven't had this kind of pressure. So it's something new for them. It's a completely new experience for that group of players that's out there. The last time they had any sort of pressure on them, they did crumble. They couldn't really take it. So it'll be very interesting to see how they approach this game today against Hearts. I can only imagine that the Rangers fans are unhappy after the weekend. So they're not kind of renowned for being easy on their team. So, you know, if things start to go badly for them in the first 5, 10, 15 minutes of that game, if they're not on top of it, then you could easily see the crowd turning on them. And I don't know if they've got a strong enough group of players that can really cope with that, with things going against them. So it'll be interesting to see that one.
That's a good point. It is a good point, because that was spoken about a hell of a lot last season, wasn't it? About the fans and how having no fans benefited some teams and it hindered others. So yes, if things don't go their way in the first 15, it'll be an interesting dynamic to see how they react to that forever. And ever Celtic comes in, thanks for joining us. You're a regular viewer and you're watching on YouTube. By the way, anyone watching on YouTube, get yourself subscribing on there. We're growing the YouTube channel because we've got a lot of content coming your way, Celtic State of Mind content. And you know that we do the interviews, you know that we do shows like Schema Celica, which is presented by our very own Kevin Graham there. But we do have bigger plans. We're going to be bringing Celtic documentaries your way, and they will be free to watch on YouTube. So get yourself subscribing. Lots of exciting things happening at A Celtic State of Mind. And by the way, I tweeted out quite early in the morning because I fell asleep earlier. It's an age thing, Kev. You have a wee nap at about 8 o'clock when you're putting the bairn to bed, and then you're up till 2 in the morning. But people think you're up living it up. You're just watching Netflix. And I put a tweet out there, and it was the final amount that we had raised. We collectively, not ACSOM, we as a Celtic support had raised for St Mary's, just touching 29k, which is astronomical. It's an incredible amount, and it just shows you that, you know, when people come together on a platform and you build a community, you can push it on to do good for worthy causes. And what more worthy than the birthplace of Celtic? So yeah, get subscribing on there. Loads of stuff for us to show you in the weeks and months to come. Forever and ever Celtic says. Taylor was immense again, as was the rest of the team. The reason I'm bringing this up is because JP and I had a good chin wag about the game the morning after, on the Thursday show, Kevin Graham. And after it went off, as we always do on a Thursday, we ran out of time and we didn't get a chance to speak about Taylor because he performed particularly well on Wednesday night. And I think he's followed it up with another excellent performance. And he's one of the players, Kev, who has divided opinion. But I said during January that there's no way we're going to bring in another left back unless we offload someone like Bolingoli, because we've got too many left backs. Is he proven to you that he can carry that off as the first choice left back without us going out? Because I said if we were to sign another left back, we need to do it in the style of Juranovic, you know, bring in someone of that kind of quality. I think Greg Taylor is coming onto a game. I think he's shown in the last couple of games we don't really need another left back. Would you subscribe to that?
I think Greg Taylor doesn't need to impress me. He needs to impress Ange Postecoglou, and Ange Postecoglou gave him a new deal. So I think that actually says that everything what Postecoglou sees in Greg Taylor, whether it is as a first choice left back or a backup left back, we do not know. That will only become clearer in the summer. But I had not an argument, but we had a discussion about this. when people were talking about bringing in another left back in January, I didn't see the need. I think we've got two decent domestic left backs.
Who's your second choice? Liam Scales?
Liam Scales is the second choice at the moment. It could be that we actually see
and I've got Juranovic, of course.
Juranovic comes on at left back as well. But also, do we see a future for Adam Montgomery at left back? Is he going to come back from Aberdeen in the summer?
Started yesterday, didn't he?
And actually become that player. Greg Taylor is a decent domestic footballer. He was a decent domestic footballer who, at a young age, had played over 100 games for Kilmarnock. Mm-hmm. I always go back to the problem was he was replacing Kieran Tierney, and people just thought he wasn't good enough to replace Kieran Tierney. Now, Kieran Tierney was a generational talent, and Greg Taylor came in. He got a bit injured. He had his injuries, but also he was coming into a team where the wheels were falling off the bogey under Neil Lennon, and people were looking for targets, and he was one of the targets. For me, again today, he got a second assist for the first goal. It was a great ball. He was fantastic on Wednesday night. Sometimes you need players that will give you a 6, 7 out of 10 every single week. Sometimes they'll elevate to an 8 or 9 out of 10 every single week. And Greg Taylor is one of those players. He's an understated player. He's not flashy. He hasn't got the cult personality of Josip Juranovic on the other side, or Anthony Ralston. Anthony Ralston's got a cult personality now as well, just for where he's came to and where he's been and where he is actually now in the squad. But Taylor's just quietly and effectively going about his business, just making Ange Postecoglou actually think he is my first choice left back. But for me, I think it was shown last week that Postecoglou also trusts Scales to come in at left back, because Postecoglou's done this a couple of times. He actually swaps the fullbacks. And I think he's got 4 fullbacks there that he actually trusts that he can get a decent level of performance from.
That's incredible, the turnaround. I mean, not that long ago, we're going into that Tynecastle clash, not talking about fullbacks here, but looking at the midfield and throwing a midfield together of Hatate and O'Reilly, and you're thinking at that point, how are they going to respond to that? And now, a couple of weeks down the line, we're kind of spoilt for choice. And we've still got Iriguchi and David Turnbull to come back in. Waiting in the wings, you've still got Sorrow and McCarthy, who obviously didn't feature today, but did come on Wednesday night. What a performance, says a Facebook user. We do bring up your comments if you comment on Facebook and other platforms. It's just that YouTube gets the vast majority of the views, and therefore far more comments come in on YouTube. Red Scotland loves Nero, as Ange calls him, and he is an important part of the squad. Comes in 1 week, he's a captain, a couple of weeks later he's on the bench, but when he comes in, he's a no kind of fuss, no frills type of player. Kevin McCluskie gives me the impression that he would be low maintenance for Ange Postecoglou, but a wee bit like Tommy Rogic, very important that he brings in that experience. He's got kind of the same amount of time at the club as Tom Rogic. You know, he's at that kind of 9-year stage. But that's hugely important this season. And him, Rogic and Ralston are going on to potentially have their best seasons in Celtic jerseys.
Yeah, I think Nero's experience is one of those understated qualities that he brings to the squad just now. I think you forget that he's been here for that long. And I kind of agree with that statement that I love him as well, because I think he's a classy player when he's on his game. We know he's had his issues when he's played at centre back before, but he's not a centre back, and that's been the result of those issues. But putting him in the midfield in that number 6 role, he's a very composed and kind of classy midfielder. He never looks under pressure, never looks flustered when he's on the ball, and his I like his distribution. He's always kind of looking forward for the pass, and if the forward pass isn't on, he'll play the simple pass and then makes himself available for the next one. He's had his few rash moments, but generally I think this season he's kept himself in check. His discipline's been good, apart from the Midtjylland game at the start of the season. And, you know, he's maybe not going to be a regular starter in the first 11, but again, as that experienced player to come off the bench, to be the calm head in the midfield when we need it, I think he's definitely got a role to play. And yeah, possibly this is his best season. Maybe not since, in total for us, but definitely in the last 2-3 years, this will be his most consistent campaign.
Yeah, I thought he was unlucky with his second red card this season. Joe McAlinden comes in. Welcome to the show, Joe. Wednesday's dominant performance for the first 25 minutes, he says, tongue-in-cheek, has lifted the belief of our squad to the next level. Long may it continue. Kevin Graham, how much importance do you place on that? Getting the monkey off your back, absolutely destroying Rangers on Wednesday night, because we did. I mean, there's no two ways about it. This 25-minute stuff that Van Bronckhorst is coming away with, like you said, like Kevin McCluskie said earlier, he's got to say something to appease the fans, isn't he? Make himself look a wee bit less to blame than he was on Wednesday night. But how big is that? How big is that in terms of the momentum, the shift? The question was asked during the week, and Ange and Matt O'Reilly said, listen, we've already got the right kind of frame of mind. I wish you'd said state of mind. We've got the right frame of mind. We didn't need a mentality shift, but it's bound to help in terms of confidence and the momentum.
It's bound to help because it reminded me. Now, at the start of the season, I'll go right back to the first game at Ibrox at the start of the season. I think I saw enough there to say that we were not going to be 25 points behind. And where we are now, for me, is absolutely phenomenal.
You had a bit of a calm down moment there, eh? Calm down, guys.
I did, but that was more to do with the way I done it was wrong. But that was more to do with my COVID.
No, but clearly,
hallucinations more than anything. But
yeah, the cabin fever. But clearly, at that stage, you were saying, "No, wait a minute, I'm seeing enough here. That this is going to level out. I can see enough to know that Ange Postecoglou is going to get this right."
Well, maybe not. You have to give him time. I always sort of had faith in what he was actually doing. Did I believe? Because sometimes we didn't look like a team. But even at the start of the season, we'd seen enough in spells to go, wait a minute, he might be onto something here. Mm-hmm. But he had a massive rebuild to do, and the rebuild's still going on. And where we are, the fact is we're sitting here 4 points in front at this precise moment in time after being 6 points behind coming out of the winter break is beyond my wildest expectations. Always says I just wanted to challenge, and we are absolutely challenging. But the fact is we're utterly challenging, playing this great football. I mean, we've got O'Reilly and Rogic in the middle of the park who are can weight a ball like peak world champion Steve Davis at the Crucible. Absolutely frightening to watch, absolutely brilliant to watch. But the other night there reminded me of when Gerrard's team beat us in 2019 2-1 at Celtic Park. And I know we went on to win the league that season, and I know that Rangers came back after that winter break and actually fell apart. But Rangers had two performances against us. One in the League Cup final and one at that day at Celtic Park. And they had been building up to the two type of performances against us. You knew that they had us at that point. Maybe they didn't have enough gumption in them to actually go and win. They were dropping silly points at other places, but once they sorted that out, they had us. And Wednesday night gave me that opinion, goes, aye, we might not win the league this season. We might not have the squad to win this season, but they know now, them as a support, them as a club know, we have yous. Mm-hmm. We have got the measure of yous now, and it's game on. And I don't think we had that in August, but now it is game on.
I think we will win the league, Kev. I really do. Just a wee mention for the two tracksuit tops behind you. They are part of our merchandise range. We don't charge for content, but we do have some merchandise available. And there's a book in there as well, Kev, written by your good self, Henrik Larsson, and 7 Years of Henrik, the best book in the world ever written in prose about Henrik Larsson. And you can say that with confidence, Kevin Graham. You can get all that merchandise on ACSOM.net, so check it out. It's gone down really popular. And we're waiting on another one of the tracksuits coming in, canary yellow with green trim. So wait for that. And further up on the right-hand side of the screen is a 7-inch single of Brooke Combe sitting up there by the decks. So if you haven't already, check out Brooke Combe because she is outrageously talented, and we done an unplugged session with her earlier on last year. Listen, it's been fantastic, guys, talking to you. We'll do it again, obviously, on Wednesday night. Kev, you make a wee point before you go?
Can I just make a wee point?
Sure.
The Green Brigade on Wednesday night had a banner that says, "You never walk alone, Kenny." Mm-hmm. Now, that was for a young lad from Stirling called Kenny Carty. who had a serious accident last Saturday night, and he's got a long road to recovery. And it's just, I just want to give him a wee shout out on the road to recovery. He's in Forth Valley Hospital at this precise moment in time. And I just want to say to anybody, if anybody is struggling, just please talk to people. That's it.
Absolutely, it's a strong message, and we keep reiterating it as much as we possibly can, Kev. Yeah, all the best, Kenny, and hopefully your recovery is swift, and everybody around about you is there to support you as well. Kevin McCluskie, our man in Budapest. Kevin Graham, our man in, where are you? Bannockburn. Our man in Bannockburn, and it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks everybody for getting involved. Like I said before, we've got lots of exciting videos coming up on the YouTube channel, so make sure you get on there and subscribe, as well as following us on the social media channels. Thanks everybody for getting involved. 1,200 strong live, and we don't take it for granted. As I say, once you pull that community together, you can do special things like supporting the birthplace of Glasgow Celtic, and that's what we've done to the tune of almost 29 grand. Unbelievable. I can't thank everybody enough for pulling together to do that. Thanks everybody for getting involved, and thank you to the two Kevins for joining me on A Celtic State of Mind.